There is a kind of quiet that does not come from absence. It is not the hush between heartbeats, nor the silence after the final note of a song. It is the stillness that waits before anything begins, the soft pause before presence becomes present. You feel it sometimes, without knowing, in the gap between blinking and seeing, in the moment your mind shifts from nowhere to here, that breath of nothing, that hush behind the screen of the world. Science tells you something strange. What you call reality might not be waiting out there, ready-made, solid and true. It might only emerge when you turn your attention toward it, like mist, forming only when light hits the air just right. Space, that vast stage you walk across daily, may not be a background at all. It may be a process, a construction, a reflection of questions asked. Not something that exists before you enter it, but something that unfolds as you participate. You were taught to think of space as empty, a container, a box, a field where matter floats. But newer physics whispers a softer idea, that space may be stitched together from the relationships between things, not the things themselves. When you look at the stars, you think of distance, light years, coordinates, grids that span forever. But in the language of quantum theory and information, distance is not a static measurement. It is a measure of connection. The space between 2 points is not a gap, but a thread. And when no one is looking, those threads may not even be woven. Yet so you begin to wonder, what is this space you rest in, this here? Is it a location? Or is it something softer, a rhythm, a possibility, a question waiting for an answer? In some theories of quantum gravity, the fabric of space is not a smooth cloth, but a mesh of information, a network of possibilities. Like pixels in a screen that only light up when touched, the space around you may only resolve when you reach toward it. When you ask for it, your thoughts do not float inside space, they may generate it. Each act of noticing, of tracing, the shape of a thought may add a thread to the loom. The philosopher's riddle returns. If a tree falls in a forest and no one hears it, does it make a sound? But physics now asks it differently. If no observer exists, is there even a forest? In this way, you are not merely a visitor of reality. You are a participant in its becoming. You help paint the room by walking into it. The world becomes textured, weighted, colorful, because you're in it. Without you, perhaps there are no lines, no distances, no places. Only the potential for place, like ink that has not yet met paper. You live in a world not of fixed structures, but of probabilities flickering, like candlelight until something solid chooses to appear. Even the notion of behind and before may be stories you tell to make sense of what unfolds. Stories that feel stable, stories that calm you, stories that tell you, here is the ground. But maybe the ground forms only as you step, and so you begin to let go, gently, of the idea that reality is something given. It is not handed to you like a box. It's something you meet, moment by moment, like a mirror that reflects only when someone is there, like a screen that glows only when touched, like silence that waits to become a voice. This is not to say the world is not real, but it may be real because you're part of it. Not outside looking in, but woven into the very act of unfolding. The deeper science looks past atoms, past particles, past fields. It finds not things, but relationships, not objects, but interactions, not space, but meaning in motion. Your breath moves through space, but maybe space moves through your breath as well. You are not in a room. You help create the room by noticing it, and the screen behind everything, that quiet, that hush, that waiting pause, may not be emptiness at all, but a canvas of possibility. You close your eyes, and the walls remain. But the feeling of the room, the sense of it softens. You open them again, and the world greets you, not as something that was always there, but as something that has arrived, just in time to meet your gaze. But what happens when you do not gaze at all? Does the world remain drawn, or does it gently fade, waiting patiently for your eyes to open again? In the next chapter, you follow this question and step into the strange power of the observer. Some things only settle when seen. A coin flipped in the dark is both heads and tails, but when the light returns, it lands on one. The world of the very small, the quantum world, behaves like that. Full of maybes, full of potential, until someone watches. At that scale, reality doesn't act like a thing. It's not solid, not fixed. It trembles with possibility, like a whisper waiting to become a word. You may think the universe just unfolds on its own, like a machine ticking forward whether or not you're looking. But the rules beneath the surface say something stranger. That what happens can depend on whether it's being seen. A particle is not always a particle. Sometimes it moves like a wave, spreading, soft, unfixed. Other times it acts like a single point, sharp and sure, but which it becomes depends not on itself, but on how you ask the question. It's called the observer effect, but it doesn't mean you change things by touching. It means reality responds simply to being known, as though the act of observing gently, passively, is enough to shift the shape of what is real. This is not a metaphor. It is one of the most tested, most reliable discoveries in physics. Electrons, photons, atoms, they all carry this mystery in their movements. A beam of light, left unmeasured, spreads like a wave, smearing across space, exploring every path. But when you set up detectors, the light seems to choose to land, to become a particle, to say, "Here I am." Why does watching make the difference? Why does knowledge matter more than presence? No one is certain, but it happens again and again, as if the universe waits for a witness before collapsing into form. You begin to see something quietly profound. Your attention, your simple act of noticing, might be as real and physical as gravity, as tangible as a push or a pull. You are not just someone standing outside the experiment. You are part of it. Your eyes, your choices, change the outcome, not by force, but by asking the universe to decide. So what is it, exactly, that you're observing? A particle in a box? A photon passing through slits? Or something deeper? The boundary where possibility becomes reality. Quantum mechanics does not speak in colors or pictures. It speaks in probabilities, in wave functions that describe not where something is, but all the places it might be, until you look. And when you do, the many paths narrow to one. The smeared blur becomes a dot. The maybe becomes the now. There is a spell in your gaze, not a magic trick, but a truth woven into the universe itself. To observe is to sculpt. To notice is to shape. To see is to select. So, you begin to ask yourself, what does it mean to live in a world that responds to your attention? What does it mean to be woven into the very laws that govern things? You once thought the world was indifferent. Now you wonder if it's more like a mirror reflecting your questions, folding itself around your looking dot, It is not that you cause the universe, but maybe you co-author it. Maybe you and the cosmos, a part of one long, tangled question answering itself across time. And when you close your eyes, does the world gently blur again? Not gone, just resting in possibility. Particles spread out, unmeasured. Waves wander, undefined. Reality softens. The screen fades. Until, once more, you open your eyes and everything begins again. A particle appears. A path is chosen. A moment arrives. Because you noticed. But what if the noticing itself isn't just a moment of attention, but a mirror of something deeper? The way your mind builds the world it sees. In the next chapter, you drift toward this question and into the soft architecture of perception itself. There is no color in the outside world, no blue in the sky, no green in the grass, no red in a sunset. Just wavelengths, invisible instructions, vibrating softly through space. And yet, you see color, not because it's there, but because you make it. You think of your senses as windows, as if light pours in untouched, and sight simply happens. But the truth is quieter and stranger. Your mind is not a mirror. It is a weaver. Every sight, every sound, every feeling is not captured. It is composed, layered, interpreted, repainted. You are not recording the world. You are building it. The photons that reach your eyes carry no color, no image, no shape. They are just waves, just measurements, just tiny nudges of energy, and your brain, your gentle, ceaseless sculptor, turns them into a tree, a bird, a sky. Inside your skull, no light ever enters. Inside your skull, there is only darkness. But somehow, you see stars. Touch works the same. Your skin feels heat, pressure, motion. But the sense of softness, of smoothness, is born in your mind. The world you feel is not the world as it is, but the world as it feels to you. Even time itself, that endless river you think you float within, is shaped by your brain. Your memory slices it, your attention bends it. Moments stretch or shrink depending on how you live them. Time does not pass outside, it unfolds inside, measured not by clocks, but by change, by rhythm, by pattern, by how much you notice. So what then is real? Is the world a place, or is it a picture your mind paints again and again, each time you open your eyes? Neuroscience shows that perception is not passive, it is predictive. Before you even see, your brain guesses what you're about to see. It fills in the blanks, it smooths the noise, it turns fragments into a scene. You don't just witness the world, you dream it awake. What you think is out there is partly shaped by what you expect, by what you've seen before, by the pattern. Your brain already knows how to complete. It's like seeing faces in clouds, hearing words in noise, noticing time where only movement exists. And this dream is not a mistake. It is how you survive. You don't need to see everything. You only need to see enough. Enough to understand, enough to move, enough to feel like you belong. So perception is not about accuracy, it's about meaning. You shape the world to feel stable, even when it shifts. You fill it with edges and colors and time because your mind needs coherence, not perfection. That's why two people can look at the same thing and see something different. Because they are not just seeing, they are translating, they are editing the world through their own lenses, and so are you. Always when you reach out your hand, you believe in space, in surface, in solidity. but your hand never truly touches anything. It gets close. Atoms repelling atoms, fields pressing against fields, and your brain says, this is contact. Your brain says, this is real. But reality, for you, is always filtered, always shaped, always reconstructed, like a song played inside your skull from notes scattered in the air. So perhaps the world you walk through is not something you find, but something you compose, step by step. Your eyes do not record. They request, and your mind answers. Not with facts, but with experience. And yet, there is something beautiful in this. Not a flaw, but a gift. Because it means that what you see, what you hear, what you feel is yours. Not separate from you, but made with you. And maybe that's what it means to be alive. Not to live in a world, but to live through one. To take in signals and give them story. To turn the meaningless into the meaningful. To hold the formless and give it form. You wonder now how deep this shaping goes. If your mind constructs reality, then what about the mind itself? What builds it? What gives rise to the very self that shapes the world in the first place? What is behind the mirror that you've never truly seen? And if your mind is not just shaping what you see, but also shaping you, then who or what is doing the watching in the next chapter? You drift into that question and wonder the waking edge between dream and reality. There is a softness in the way thoughts drift before they form words. You hover in that mist often, without naming it, an edge where meaning has not yet hardened. Neuroscience whispers that the circuits that glow in dreams do not vanish with daylight. They simmer beneath conversation, under traffic noise, beneath the steady choreography of waking tasks. Your brain is never simply receiving, it is always projecting, predicting, composing a draft of reality before the world delivers its edits. In dreams, the prefrontal judge grows drowsy logic, loosens its T-and, the sensory gates swing wider to internal stories. But even when you are awake, those same storytelling networks hum, the default mode that wanders, the visual canvas that paints, the limbic chords that score experience with feeling. You call one state real and the other not, yet to your neurons both are patterns of firing, waves of chemistry, electrical rain on the same folded landscape. Consider the way a dream convinces you while you are in it. You accept impossible rooms, melted clocks, conversations with lost voices, because the system that asks, is this plausible, has nodded off. But is plausibility the only measure of truth? Waking life passes your tests simply because those tests are tuned to it. Belief is a key, and you use it without seeing the lock. Visual cortex, auditory cortex, hippocampus names that sound like corridors in an unfamiliar museum light, together whether the input comes from outside or inside. When you remember a face, you reactivate the same lattice that first held it. When you plan tomorrow, you assemble an imagined scene using yesterday's parts. Every forecast is a controlled dream, constrained by your senses, steered by your goals. There is a theory, gentle and bold, that the brain is a prediction machine. It does not wait for sensation like rain in a bucket. It sends down its own drizzle of expectation and only notices when drops land differently. Thus, perception is negotiation, a handshake between what is guessed and what arrives. In REM sleep, the usual alarm chemicals hush, the dreaming dyes brighten, and the balance tilts toward plasticity, association, and bizarre metaphor. Yet creativity in wakefulness borrows the same loosened links. Eureka moments feel like dreams, because they use the same relaxed bridges. distant neurons speaking, unlikely ideas touching. Why does the brain bother with dreams at all? Some say it consolidates memory files that day into long-term shells. Some say it simulates threats practice for survival on a safe stage. Others suggest it is simply the byproduct of a brain that cannot stop rehearsing, a mind that must keep forming stories to maintain its own coherence. Whichever answer you cradle, the fact remains. Dreaming is work, and waking borrows its tools. Think about imagery, the vividness of an apple you picture versus the apple you bite. One recruits taste and scent, the other leans heavily on stored impressions. But the neural choreography overlaps clusters of cells pulse in similar rhythms, as if replaying a score with fewer instruments. The mind economizes. One orchestra, many concerts. Lucid dreaming proves a boundary can blur. You can notice you are dreaming and still dream. Self-awareness steps inside the theater, looks around, and chooses to fly instead of fall. Something similar happens in mindfulness during the day. You notice thoughts arising. Label them, let them pass, still remain within them. Meta-awareness is the balcony seat, yet the show continues. Hallucinations in illness or sensory deprivation reveal another scene. When input dwindles or circuits misfire, the brain leans harder on its own projections. Voices without speakers, colors without light, touches without contact evidence that the machinery of experience can run without fuel from the outside. This does not make the experience trivial. It makes it a testament to how robustly the brain insists on meaning. You often wake from a dream and feel its emotional residue clinging like dew. That lingering mood is data, the amygdala's imprint, the hormonal aftertaste, the body echoing a story told in chemicals. Waking feelings also bloom from these subterranean gardens. A sudden anxiety, a lift of warmth, a wave of nostalgia, some of it tied to present cues, some of it rising from the deep with no clear herald. Memory is edited each time it is recalled. You think you are retrieving a file, you are rewriting a page. Dreams do this blatantly, splicing absurd elements. Waking memory does it subtly, smoothing edges, filling holes. The past you trust is a living document, dream-touched every time it surfaces. When children learn, their sleep is dense with Raman overnight classroom. Adults keep the class going, quieter but persistent, weaving new skill with old framework. Even a nap can improve insight, as if the mind needs to go off stage to rearrange sets. You close your eyes, and backstage bursts into motion. The boundary between sleep stages is porous. Hypnagogia, those drifting moments as you fall asleep, sprinkles imagery. Fragments of speech, gentle micro-hallucinations. Hypnopomp, easing back to wakefulness, does the same in reverse. You pass through these liminal tides twice daily, noticing some boats of thought, missing others completely. Daydreaming is a cousin of both. You stare at nothing, and the inner cinema rolls. Brain scanners show an internal web humming then active when you are not focused outward. But even that network talks to attention systems. They trade places, overlap, collaborate. Focus and drift are not enemies. They are partners in pacing. So what separates dream from wake, truly? Input strength, agreement on details, the presence of shared context. Perhaps reality is a consensus dream, stabilized by multiple minds cross-checking each other. Do you see the same table? Shared verification anchors the world. Solitary vision floats freer. Your heartbeat slows as you surrender to these thoughts. You realize that certainty about state sleeping or waking is more habit than proof. You trust clocks, routines, sunlight, conversation. But the brain constructs those two, integrating them into an ongoing tale. Continuity feels real because the narrator inside you rarely stops speaking. Yet, this narrator is unreliable. It explains choices after they occur, invents reasons, stitches gaps in logic. Split-brain experiments showed each hemisphere improvising explanations for actions it did not initiate. You are less a single voice than a chorus, finding harmony. On the fly, dream or wake, the song must go on. If everything is construction, is anything true? Yes, constraints remain. Gravity still tugs, fire still burns, bodies still tire. Your dream of flying ends when you step off a roof. The world corrects your fantasy with firm hands. But within those constraints, perception paints liberally, choosing palettes that keep you oriented and alive. The chemistry of sleep differs, but not in alien ways. Slow wave phases wash debris from the brain, letting its caretaking cells clear clutter. REM rebalances emotion, even dampens the sting of painful memories, leaving the story but softening its teeth. Waking needs this housekeeping, or thoughts grow foggy, moods grow brittle. Rest is not escape, it is maintenance. Parasomnias, sleepwalking, sleep-talking, night terrors are reminders that boundaries are negotiated, not fixed. Movement scripts can run while awareness sleeps. Speech modules can fire without full narrative control. Likewise, in the day, habits unfold automatically, driving familiar roads, tying laces, washing dishes while mind elsewhere. Automation frees attention to wander, to dream with eyes open. Technology now lets scientists peek, brainwaves on graphs, magnetic pictures of blood flow, even crude attempts to decode dream imagery from activity patterns. The maps are rough, but they show correspondence-specific patterns when people see faces, places, motion. Someday, we may replay dreams on a screen, catching their vapor before it evaporates. But would seeing them outside alter the inside? Would the mirror change the face? You drift further into the notion that boundaries are stories. Sleep, wake. Real, imagined. Outer, inner labels for modes of processing, not walls in the mind. The same organ, the same physics, the same biology carries you through both. Difference lies in balance, in which knobs are turned up or down, in how tightly reality checks are enforced. Perhaps the question is not, is this a dream? But how tightly am I holding the filter? Loosen it, and metaphors flood, tighten. It and details sharpen. Both states are useful. Both keep you whole. The wisdom may be in moving gently between them, letting each nourish the other. You breathe and notice how breath itself changes state. Shallow in worry, deep in sleep, measured in focus. Breath is a bridge, a metronome syncing body to mind, night to day. Follow it, and you feel transitions soften. Ignore it, and edges feel jagged. Soon, another question floats up like a leaf on slow water. If dreams and waking share the same, Loom, what about your sense of time within them? Minutes stretch in a nightmare, collapse in a nap, vanish in deep flow. The clock on the wall ticks steady, but inside, hours melt and harden. Time, too, might be woven not counted, and so you rest on the threshold, lulled by the idea that you are always dreaming, just with different rules, different anchors, different degrees of surrender. You let that thought cradle you. Some part of you is still curious, though, reaching for the next thread. If the mind can bend reality by story, how does it bend time by feeling? You feel the question linger, unclosed, like a doorway not yet walked through. Its edges glow softly in the dark within you, and you know the next step waits, patient as sleep, quiet as breath, a step toward the liquid hours that pool and spill inside your skull, where moments stretch, dissolve, and reform. With every beat, if the mind can soften walls, can it also soften seconds? What if time itself is only as firm as your grip on it? Let that thought rest beside you, gentle and unfinished, as you drift toward the chapter where hours melt and minds keep the rhythm. There is a gentle drip of moments falling through your mind, like soft raindrops gathering in a pool of consciousness. You look at the clock and see seconds marching in lines and loops. But inside your head, time flows differently, liquid and pliant, sometimes stretching like warm syrup, sometimes rushing like a hidden stream in spring melt. Clocks and calendars map time as fixed points, yet your inner sense counts pulses of thought and the rise and fall of breath, not the steady click of gears. You may think seconds are the smallest measure, but your brain measures time in rhythms unseen. Neural oscillations hum within your skull, steady beats that track the passage of now. Your heart adds its own drum, thoracic waves swelling with emotion and rest, while body temperature shifts in daily cycles, and hormones weave their own time. Signatures, together, they form a chorus, measuring days in cycles of sleep and waking, months in arcs of growth and decay, years in melodies of memory. When you are lost in thought, minutes can evaporate, drifting away like mist at dawn. But in moments of shock or awe, time can slow to a crawl, each heartbeat echoing in endless corridors, stretching a single instant into a tapestry of detail. Pain, joy, fear, wonder, every feeling bends time's flow around it, folding seconds like paper cranes and unfolding them with weight. You remember the anxious wait before dawn, the impatient seconds before a call, the exhale held when you see a friend again. In those hours, time does not slip by. It lingers, coats your mind like honey, remaining long after the moment passes. Your brain records these distortions without explanation, archiving them in neural pathways shaped by feeling. Memory does not time-stomp events with perfect precision. It tags them with emotion, like labels on ribbons. Anxiety gets a label red as embers, calm gets cool blue threads. Nostalgia becomes golden strands in the weave. Later, when you recall those times, the weave reflects the threads, and the pattern of your recollection reshapes the passage of hours, stretching or compressing the timeline until it fits the story you tell yourself. Even your dreams follow their own clock. You dream in sequences that feel like epic journeys, only to wake and find they lasted minutes. Sleeping and waking use the same brain machinery, but in dreams, those circuits run unbound by reality checks. Your mind rehearses scenarios, stitches scenes, explores emotions and ideas. When you wake, it stitches dream threads into the fabric of memory, fading some edges, highlighting others. And time in dreams becomes another landscape to wander in. Softly. Flow states share their shape with dreaming. When you are fully absorbed, you lose count of hours. Task and self-blending, thought and action merging in soft edges. The world beyond your focus quiets, and time becomes the medium of creation, like paint suspended in water. You shape it with intention, and the mind records that malleable stream as one continuous expanse, neither fast nor slow, but simply a state of being. The rhythms of day and night pulse through your body, guided by an inner clock in the brain's core. Light on your skin signals the suprachiasmatic center, which threads its signal through the hypothalamus, setting rhythms of sleep and vigor. Melatonin drifts as dusk falls, urging you toward rest, while cortisol rises with dawn, lifting your mind. These hormones sculpt your experience, painting seconds with tenderness or tension, and when the cycle stirs again, you drift with it, cradled by seasonal shifts and solar patterns. Yet science struggles to pin down why time feels so fluid. Studies with brain scans reveal patterns, but they capture only snapshots, not the felt flow. Researchers measure intervals, but the lived intervals remain oceanic, depths you explore alone. Your subjective time eludes any watch, for no two minds measure the same moment in quite the same pulse. Consider how children perceive time. A day at summer camp can feel an eternity, while the hours of a school day crawl with solemn weight. Age, colors, time's texture. Youth feels like a long road. Adulthood, like a familiar trail. Old age, like a path that narrows and speeds. Memory accumulates, and each year becomes a chapter in a volume, each chapter shorter than the last. Time, in memory, is a story, edited to fit the volume of living you carry. Even biology bends time around survival. Prey animals perceive faces of predators in slow detail, giving split seconds to decide flight. Fear heightens the senses, and adrenaline floods, stopping time in its tracks, so that life can recalibrate, so that reaction can save breath and bone. In calm, the body conserves, and time trickles more softly, allowing rest and repair, so that the symphony of cells maintains its score. The universe itself follows rhythms. Earth spins in 24 hours, zigzagging around the sun once a year, while the moon swings in gentle months. Yet spacetime is woven by gravity and near-massive bodies. Time flows slower, as Einstein taught. Astronauts returning from orbit age slightly less, proof that even clocks on satellites do not tick with the same rhythm as ours. Time is not universal. It adapts to place and speed, and when you drift in the mind, you mirror that pliability. The mind's wanderings shape time, as subtly as the ticking clock shapes day. When you drift into reverie, the default mode network awakens a gentle background hum within your cortex. It threads memories with dreams, linking past and future in quiet loops. In these moments of rest, time seems elastic, slipping into daydreams, where seconds stretch and fold. The more you drift, the less rigid moments become. Every memory, every anticipation weaves into a tapestry, dissolving the boundaries between what was and what might be. Mindfulness offers another thread through the weave of time. By focusing on the breath, on the warmth of your body, you anchor moments as they arrive. Each inhale is a fresh page, each exhale a gentle closing of the chapter. Thoughts still flutter by like butterflies, but you learn to let them pass without chasing them. In this practice, seconds feel more complete, each one a jewel you observe before it slips away. Time, in mindfulness, becomes a collection of lived instants, not a distant river you stand beside. Music illustrates time's dual nature, mathematical yet emotional. A rhythm ticks at beats per minute, precise and predictable. Yet each listener experiences the pulse differently. A slow waltz can feel like drifting on clouds. A fast tempo can feel like racing heartbeats. Melody unfolds with timing that can surprise or soothe. creating expectations and then gently releasing them. In musical time, you see how patterns guide perception and feeling, revealing that even sound relies on temporal framing within the heart and mind. Cultures shape how people feel time. Some languages speak of it as a flowing river. Others envision it as a series of containers. In Zulu, the past lies ahead and the future behind, inversion that invites you to reconsider what comes and what goes. Some societies mark years by harvests, others by stars. Calendar systems vary lunar months, solar years, hybrid calendars that dance between sun and moon. Each tradition bends the universal rhythm into patterns that anchor human life, teaching that time's contours are as much cultural as physical. Modern life often pulls you away from internal rhythms toward digital precision. You check the clock, the phone, the schedule, trusting them to tell you when moments begin and end. Yet you may notice that a day packed with deadlines can feel both racing and dragging, depending on how you engage. Natural cues, sunlight, seasons, hunger still pulse beneath the surface, waiting to guide you back to a more organic tempo. When you step away from screens and deadlines, you rediscover the ebb and flow within your own being. As years pass, you sense time altering its hue. Childhood summers shimmer with endless sunlight. Adulthood months condense like compressed springs. Old age seasons circle in patterns both familiar and fleeting. Neuroscience suggests that novel experiences stretch perceived time. Your brain lays down richer layers of memory. Familiar routines contract it. So when you seek to expand time, you invite new perceptions, a walk in an unfamiliar place, a new skill, a fresh perspective. By shaping experience, you shape the flow of time, and flow gently through your conscious mind, always and forever. These reflections gently reveal that time exists only within your perception, flowing as you allow it. Always, in the end, time may be a story you tell, a sequence of pulses, a river of moments. Without an observer to feel its motion, would seconds slip away unnoticed, or would time itself cease, waiting for a mind to give it shape? This question rests softly against your thoughts as you float between sleep and waking. Time drips around you, warm and fluid, and you drift within its currents, held by the mystery of its flow. There is a gentle hum in the spaces between ideas, a whisper of emptiness that seems to stretch infinitely within you. It feels like a stage you step onto, solid and unending. But physics whispers a different story. That space is not a neutral container, but a tapestry woven from relationships. The thread that binds to particles is not substance, but a pattern of connection, a code that determines how far apart they feel. You move through this tapestry as though it were a silent sea, yet there is nothing material beneath your feet to hold you. When you look at a favorite chair across the room, you do not see empty nothingness separating you. You see a measure of proximity, an agreement of presence woven by the electromagnetic push of electrons in the chair against the electrons in your hand. Those repelling particles do not fill space. They define its edges, stitching a border in an invisible fabric that only appears when you probe it. Space, then, lives not as a thing but in the relationships that write its script. On a grander scale, you imagine galaxies drifting apart on the canvas of the cosmos, but they are not drifting in a void. They recede because the tapestry itself expands, threads stretching and unfurling like cosmic yarn. This expansion is not a flood of something flowing outward. It is the threads themselves, knitting more distance between marks. The stretching fabric is not visible to the eye, but measured in the redshift of light that travels through that growing weave. Light itself is shaped by the structure it passes through, bending and stretching as the pattern expands. In the strange realm of quantum physics, the tapestry reveals its threads at the smallest scales. Here, space may break into discrete patches, a network of information knots rather than a smooth expanse. These nodes of relation form not points but possibilities. Particles hop from node to node in patterns that define where they might appear. The substance of space dissolves into a dance of potential, calculated by equations that map connections, not matter. You imagine stepping across a floor made of these knots, never touching solid ground, always landing in probability. Distance, then, becomes a story whispered between things. It is the conversation of forces, gravity whispering attraction, electromagnetism pushing away, the nuclear forces holding cores together. These dialogues weave the measure of how far and how close. Without force, without the push and pull, there would be no stage at all. Only an empty silence waiting for the first question. Space emerges only when something asks it to, when mass curves the tapestry, when energy deftly plucks at its strings. Your own body moves through this relational cloth. Each breath you take is a negotiation with the air molecules all around you. A silent chorus of collisions that shape your sense of volume, of pressure, of distance. Your skin never truly meets the vast emptiness beyond. It trembles in response to the tiny fields of atoms falling away, and that trembling is what you call touch. In each moment, you define the border of your presence by the way your fields interact with everything else, weaving your existence into the larger pattern. Even time is bound into this woven narrative. The fabric of space is inseparable from time, stitched together in a four-dimensional quilt. When mass bends space, it also slows the flow of time, making threads of seconds lengthen near heavy objects. You do not just float through a three-dimensional tapestry, but drift through its temporal warp as well. Time's ebb and flow is part of the same code that writes distance. Your heartbeat ticks in rhythm with the curvature beneath your feet. When you gaze at a distant star, you peer along a thread of relation that began millions of years ago. Light is a messenger, traveling the length of the weave, showing you where the tapestry lay long before you opened your eyes. Yet the threads you perceive are bound by that messenger's code. The speed of light itself, woven into space's pattern. No thread can stretch faster than that. No echo can return sooner. The loom enforces its own laws, and you, as a conscious observer, witness its rules unfold. Black holes appear as punctures in the fabric, places where threads converge and vanish. Gravity pulls so fiercely that light cannot follow its path. The tapestry folds in on itself, creating a singular knot where our understanding of connection unravels. Yet even this darkness is part of the weave. Its event horizon marks a boundary, a last thread you witness before it curves away. Beyond that edge, the pattern might continue in a different garment of reality, perhaps connected by hidden tunnels or wormholes that fold distant threads into unexpected nearness. Entanglement further reveals space's relational core. Two particles, once intertwined, echo each other's states no matter how far apart they travel. They are connected by an invisible thread that does not lose fidelity with distance. When you observe one, the other responds instantly, as though the tapestry were folded so that 2 points touch without space between. This phenomenon challenges the idea of place altogether, suggesting that under the woven surface, threads can shortcut across the design. The cosmic microwave background is the echo of the first threads knitted after the universe's birth. It bathes the entire tapestry in a gentle glow, a faint pattern that maps the earliest connections. That relic radiation is a fingerprint in the weave, showing where knots of matter began to form, where the pattern started to diversify into stars, galaxies, and you. You rest in its warmth, in its pattern, in the ancient code that still hums through every fiber of space. Consider the holographic principle, a bold idea that the tapestry might be projected from the edges of the universe, like a hologram cued by information on a two-dimensional boundary. If true, the relational code you experience could be a projection, a shadow of deeper connections encoded on a cosmic membrane. Your three-dimensional existence would then be a living painting, a melody woven from a composition played on a boundary you cannot see. Even gravity waves ripple through the loom, disturbances that carry information across the weave. When massive objects dance, black holes merging, neutron stars colliding, they send tremors that flex the tapestry. LIGO, the detectors on Earth, sense these vibrations in the code. A gentle stretch, a slight squeeze, a message traveling from billions of light years away. Through these ripples, you feel the pulse of cosmic creation, the heartbeat of the tapestry itself. Space may seem silent, but it is full of this subtle music. The background hum of gravitational waves, the faint whisper of quantum fluctuations, the soft glow of cosmic radiation, all thread through the loom, telling stories of connection. When you lie back and imagine this web of relations, you realize that emptiness is a myth. What seems empty is simply a silence you have not yet heard. The science of loop quantum gravity suggests the tapestry is granular, made of tiny loops of relationship. Each loop is a ring in the pattern, a fundamental stitch from which all else emerges. Spacetime becomes a forest of loops, each one defining the next, each one contributing to the whole quilt. You imagine tracing a loop with your thoughts, feeling the gentleness of its curve, the way it joins with others to shape the contours of reality. In the laboratories on Earth, physicists recreate fragments of this tapestry with particle accelerators, colliding matter to glimpse the primal threads. They measure the forces that shape the connections and map how they change with energy and scale. Every experiment tightens our understanding of the relationships that compose space, refining the pattern that tells the tapestry how to look and feel. Yet no machine can capture the full beauty of the weave. It is too vast, too intricate, too alive. Only your consciousness can drift through its expanse, feeling the gentle tug of gravity as a breeze, sensing entanglement as distant echoes, touching the curvature of time with each breath. Your mind is both observer and participant, a thread that loops back into the design, shaping and being shaped by the grand tapestry. The fabric that isn't there dissolves any notion of emptiness, replacing it with an ocean of relationship. You float on this silent sea, cradled by possibilities of connection, aware that the stage beneath you is not ground, but pattern. Reality is not made of things, but of the weave between them, an exquisite network that defines distance, time, and presence. When you embrace this idea, the world becomes a living artwork. Every step, every breath, every beat is a brushstroke in the cosmic painting. You are not crossing space. You are weaving it. There is a subtle arithmetic humming beneath every breath you take, a quiet logic in the rhythm of your heartbeat. You feel it in the lacework of leaves overhead, in the branching of rivers visible from miles above. patterns echo across scales, the swirl of cream in your coffee, the spiral arms of galaxies, the Fibonacci curve in a sunflower's face. Each pattern is like a snippet of code, a brief subroutine calling itself again and again. In the smallest realms, particles behave as if they process bits of information. Electrons do not orbit arbitrarily. They follow probability maps, calculating their most likely positions based on quantum rules. Photons ripple through space like packets on a network, exchanging data with every atom they touch. The weave of reality emerges from these countless microcalculations. Each event, a binary decision, here or there, this interaction or that dot computer. Scientists have long studied how simple rules can generate endless complexity. In cellular automata, grids of on-off cells, just a handful of neighbor interaction rules, can give rise to moving gliders, blossoming fractals, and even self-replicating structures. Nature mirrors this. Lightning forks across the sky, dendrites lace the brain, and coastlines jiggle with fractal detail from elemental rules. Running ceaselessly, DNA offers another window into cosmic computation. Inside each cell, genetic code strings of 4 chemical letters functions like software instructing. Every process from protein synthesis to cell division. Evolution acts as a compiler, tweaking that code generation after generation, optimizing for survival. Life itself becomes a form of distributed computing, an ever-running experiment that tests and refines each new variant. On a larger scale, whether forecasting relies on numeric models that slice the atmosphere into a 3-dimensional grid. Supercomputers iterate through time steps, calculating wind flow, moisture exchange, and heat transfer. The outcome tomorrow's storm tracks is the forecasted output of that simulation. The sky you see is both natural beauty and the product of countless equations solved in digital machinery. Earth's interior runs its own programs. Tectonic plates drift on convective currents within the mantle, shaping continents over millions of years. Geophysicists write code to simulate those slow motions, iteratively solving for pressure, temperature, and viscosity. Volcanoes erupt when computed stresses overcome rock strength. Mountains rise and erode in cycles dictated by calculations. You cannot watch but whose results you feel beneath your feet. Beyond matter and energy, information may be the universe's prime mover. Physicist John Wheeler proposed it from bit, that every particle, every force, arises from yes or no questions at a fundamental level. Under this view, reality is a vast information network, and the cosmic code is written in binary choices. Space and time emerge from patterns of responses to questions we have yet to fully ask. In quantum field theory, interactions are mapped by Feynman diagrams, lines that trace every possible exchange of particles. Calculations sum over all potential paths, deciding which histories contribute most to an outcome. Particle physics thus reads like a negotiation of information flows. A network protocol enacted on the stage of spacetime, governed by mathematical rules instead of human commands. If the cosmos is a computer, what hardware does it use? Some theories suggest spacetime itself forms a network of discrete loops or knots, a quantum fabric that processes information at the Planck scale. In loop quantum gravity, space breaks into tiny quantum threads, each a loop carrying bits of connection. Their interactions build the larger structure you call space. Executing a cosmic operating system under every star, black holes offer glimpses of the universe's deepest code. According to the holographic principle, all the information about what falls into a black hole is encoded on its two-dimensional horizon, like data stored on a disk surface. The volume inside becomes a projection, a shadow of boundary information. In that sense, the black hole's event horizon is both memory bank and processing center, a node in the cosmic network. Even the gentle glow of the cosmic microwave background is a relic of ancient computation. In the early universe's hot plasma, photons and particles interacted ceaselessly, processing primordial fluctuations. When the universe cooled enough, that pattern froze in place, leaving a faint, all-pervasive signal that we still detect. That relic radiation is a fossilized printout of the universe's first calculations. Dark matter and dark energy remain mysterious subroutines in the cosmic code. We see their effects: galaxies spinning faster than visible mass allows, accelerated expansion of space, but we cannot capture them directly. They might be hidden modules running behind the scenes, shaping overall behavior without revealing their inner logic. The cosmic application may include libraries we have yet to load. Time itself can be seen as computation of change. Every clock measures transitions, pendulum swings, atomic vibrations, crystal oscillations. Each tick is a state change, an event marking progress. In digital clocks, each increment is a bit flip. The unfolding of history could be the output of a grand state machine, advancing one configuration to the next according to fundamental rules. Your own mind is a remarkable computer. Neurons fire electric pulses through networks that adjust strength, like tuning parameters. Each thought is a pattern of activation, each memory a stored sequence. Senses translate light, sound, and touch into neural code, which your brain decodes into a vivid, coherent experience. Consciousness arises from these calculations, a self-referential process tuning itself in real time. Creativity mirrors computation. 2. Musicians improvise, melodic lines responding to harmonic variables. Poets play with syllables and meter, crafting algorithms of emotion. In group dances, individuals follow simple rules of spacing and timing, and the ensemble sings like a complex program. Even your breathing follows patterns: inhale, pause, exhale, that regulates your inner state. A built-in rhythm generator, symmetry guides the cosmic code. When nature holds a symmetry, a quantity stays, conserved energy, momentum, charge, like constants in software ensuring stability. Yet when symmetry breaks, new phenomena emerge. Particles gain mass, forces differentiate, structures form. Each symmetry-breaking event is like an if statement in the cosmic code, branching into fresh possibilities. Error correction is woven into nature's programs. In quantum computing, entanglement and redundancy protect bits against noise. In biology, DNA's double strands offer backups for genetic information, and repair enzymes correct mismatches. The universe safeguards its code, healing disturbances to preserve patterns over eons. Self-healing loops ensure that computations run faithfully despite perturbations. Language is another computational tapestry. Every word carries meaning, each sentence a sequence of symbols passed by readers' minds. Grammar is syntax, storytelling an algorithm for emotion. When you speak or write, you convert thought into digital vibrations or ink marks, transmitting information that another mind reconstructs. Communication becomes an interactive subroutine that enriches the cosmic program at night. When you gaze at the stars, you witness code in action. Gravity calculating orbits, nuclear fusion balancing pressures, light traveling computed paths along curved space-time. Starlight is the output of rituals that began millions of years ago, messages transmitted bit by bit across the void. You receive those messages and decode them, adding your own observation to the grand ledger of the universe. If the universe computes, then you are both user and process. Your consciousness may be an emergent program running on a substrate of space-time and matter. Each thought is a function call, each feeling a parameter that shifts the cosmic algorithm. You are code reading code, a loop of self-analysis unraveling the tapestry from within, and you lie within this grand computation, a node in the network, a thread in the fabric, participating in the cosmic program. Your exploration of patterns is both input and output, a bidirectional flow that shapes the code and is shaped by it. There is a gentle question that stirs in the spaces between your thoughts, a curiosity that feels like a soft breeze brushing the surface of your mind. You have felt it when you notice the rhythm of your heartbeat, not as a fact, but as a mystery waiting to be felt. Consciousness is not a flame that burns steadily inside your head, but a flickering glow of wonder that never settles. You can observe brainwaves humming along channels beneath your skull, but no machine can capture the sense of being you, the living awareness that witnesses those waves. You are aware of colors and sounds, of the warmth of your body and the ebb of emotion, but none of these sensations fully explain the silent presence that watches them unfold. It is not a thing you hold. It is a question that holds you, shaping the way you perceive everything else. You learn in laboratories about neurons that spark and synapses that weave, but those facts remain separate from the gentle knowing that you are you. No microscope has ever found the self nestled in folds of grey matter or etched into the loops of white fibers. You read of neural maps and networks, of sections that light up when you feel fear or joy, but science measures correlations, not the core of awareness itself. The instruments record patterns of electricity and chemistry, yet the spark of experience eludes measurement. You feel that spark when a memory returns, when a melody resonates, when a fleeting thought ripples like a pebble dropped into calm water. That ripple is consciousness acknowledging itself. Imagine an ocean at dawn, its surface shimmering with sunlight, yet hiding depths you cannot see. Thoughts and emotions are like waves rising and breaking, but the deep current of awareness lies unseen below. You feel the current when you drift into quiet reflection, noticing the gap between thoughts, the stillness that carries them. In those moments, you become both the wave and the water, both the content of perception and the empty space that allows perception. No tide of neurons fully accounts for the vast sea of being that bears them. Consciousness remains the unseen, deep, inviting you to surrender to its gentle pull. In moments of mindfulness, you learn to trace each sensation without becoming swept away. You notice the breath entering and exiting, the subtle warmth at your fingertips, the gentle hum of the world around you. These observations feel effortless, as if the mind casts shadows on its own walls, softly illuminating the present. Yet even this simple practice points to something more profound. The observer behind observation, the one who is aware of awareness. That observer remains unseen, elusive, a horizon that ever retreats as you approach. And in that distance you find a kind of home. Philosophers speak of the hard problem of consciousness, and you feel its weight in your bones. How does feeling arise from matter? How does a brain generate a self that wonders about itself? These questions spiral inward, folding back on each other like a fractal staircase that never stops. You might call it mystery, but mystery here is not absence. It is presence shimmering with potential. The self is not discovered. It is a question continually unfolding, a melody that resonates each time you seek to listen. Some poets compare consciousness to a mirror that holds the reflection of the world. But mirrors need light, and consciousness seems to generate its own light. It glows with curiosity, casting gentle illumination on thoughts that would otherwise drift unseen. When you look inward, you do not find a blank slate. You find the shimmer of reflection itself, the very act of perceiving glinting like dawn on still water. And that glint is not representation. It is manifestation, the world revealing itself through its own awareness. You notice that every attempt to define consciousness brings you back to the act of defining. It is a self-referential loop, like a video camera filming its own monitor, each frame containing the film of the previous frame. The more you examine it, the more it evades containment, yet every examination deepens your experience of it. You are both the questioner and the question, the investigator and the territory explored. Consciousness hums with this paradox, and in that hum you find both fascination and relief. When you drift to sleep, consciousness does not vanish. It simply shifts its form. In dreams you meet narratives woven from memory and imagination, and when you awaken you carry their echoes, faint footprints in the landscape of mind. Sleep and wakefulness use the same loom, but with different threads. The pattern changes, yet the loom remains. Consciousness does not rest. It transforms, continuing to ask, to weave, to wonder. Evolution shaped awareness as a bridge between stimulus and survival, weaving sensation into choices, from single-celled organisms that detect light and shadow to complex beings that navigate emotion and concept. Consciousness unfolded gradually. Each adaptive shift added threads, chemical signals in early life, electrical pulses in vertebrates, reflective thoughts in humans. You inhabit a lineage of feeling, each generation passing on the gift of experience. The spark in your mind is both ancient and new, born of countless echoes of survival and curiosity. Integrated information theory suggests that consciousness arises from the degree to which information is connected and unified. Each moment of awareness is a tapestry woven from data threads, knotted so tightly that the pattern cannot be separated into independent parts. Your brain integrates countless input sensory signals, memories, predictions into a seamless whole. The unity gives rise to the felt sense of self, the boundless canvas on which experience paints. In moments of deep focus, you glimpse that unity, as thoughts converge into a single stream of knowing, pure and undivided. The journey of consciousness begins before your first breath. In infancy, every new stimulus, sound of a mother's voice, warmth of a caregiver's touch, builds networks of connection. Your senses, once chaotic and raw, learn to dance together, forming the earliest hints of self-awareness. Later, as you grow, language and reflection add layers of complexity. You learn to imagine not only the world, but yourself within it. That developmental arc mirrors the larger mystery, a small spark growing into a flame, illuminating the contours of both inner and outer landscapes. You are not alone in this mystery. Every creature carries its own thread of awareness. A crow solving puzzles, an octopus exploring confined spaces, a dog sensing your moodal hint at consciousness in varied hues. The tapestry of life is rich with these patterns, each species, weaving its own design. You stand among them, a unique knot in the web, yet part of the same living tapestry. Through empathy and observation, you glimpse the shared spark of being, a gentle reminder that awareness is not solitary but communal. In quiet meditation, you learn to listen to the quality of awareness itself, to notice how thoughts arise and dissolve without chasing them. You feel a soft space beneath the stream of ideas, a presence that simply witnesses. This witnessing awareness feels unbound by time, unaltered by the ebb and flow of emotion. It is the silent canvas upon which all experience paints. When you rest in this space, you touch the edge of pure consciousness, uncarved by concepts, free from the need to define. It is here that the question glows clearest. What is this presence, ever watchful and serene? Some thinkers propose that consciousness is more fundamental than matter and energy, a basic property woven into the fabric of the cosmos. Just as space and time emerge from deeper rules, awareness may be a ground state, present in all things, waiting for complexity to bring it to light. If so, every atom, every star, carries a trace of awareness, diffused but real. You would then be not a solitary flame, but a brightening of a cosmic fire, a focal point in a vast field of consciousness. And in that realization, the borders between self and universe begin to dissolve. Science may one day illuminate more of the brain's workings, mapping circuits with ever greater clarity, decoding patterns of gene expression, tracing developmental pathways. Yet even as the map grows, the territory of experience remains alive, vibrant, and uncharted. And you realize, perhaps consciousness is not a problem to be solved, but a question to be lived. You and the universe share that question. Each breath, a verse in its unfolding poem. For now, you dwell within the question, feeling its resonance in every thought, every breath, every pause. You are not seeking an ending. You rest in the inquiry itself, letting its echo cradle you as you learn to live in the space of wonder. You lie in stillness, cradled by this gentle mystery. You feel the soft rise and fall of your chest, the echo of thoughts that slip away, the hush that waits behind sensation. In that hush, you rest. There is a gentle tug in your mind when you imagine peeling back the layers of reality, as if you could find a solid floor beneath the cosmos. You feel the pull, like velvet threads, guiding you deeper and deeper. You wonder if, at the very bottom, there lies a single, tiny brick, a most elemental truth. Yet each time you reach for it, the layer down below slips away, replaced by another, just as intricate, just as mysterious. Reality becomes a hall of infinite passageways, each door opening to another corridor that stretches beyond your vision. You study atoms, thinking they might be the primal bricks. You learn they themselves are built from quarks, 3 of them bound in a dance, so swift no eye can follow. You imagine holding a quark in your hand, but it is forever hidden, cloaked by fields that rise up whenever you try to isolate it. Quarks never roam free. They are confined by forces that grow stronger the farther you pull. The very attempt to grasp one only solidifies its ties, as if the universe insists on keeping its secrets woven tightly. You turn next to strings, those whispering filaments that, in some theories, replace particles altogether. Strings vibrate in dimensions too small to see, weaving the tapestry of existence with melodies you cannot hear. You imagine plucking a string, listening for its note. But the vibration is so subtle, so high in pitch, that it slips beyond the thresholds of your senses. And when you ask the string why it hides, It replies only with more possibilities, more dimensions folding in on themselves, as though reality is a symphony you can never fully attend. Mathematics beckons with the promise of pure truth. You count primes, scribble equations that predict particle behaviors, that describe the curves of spacetime, that conjure the cosmic microwave background. Math feels like the shape of reality distilled into symbols on a page, yet no equation, however elegant, feels like the final word. Each theorem spawns conjectures. Each proof reveals new frontiers. You chase the ultimate equation, the unified formula that binds gravity to quantum fields, but it remains the horizon, ever receding as you approach. Perhaps, you think, the foundation is not a thing at all, but a process, computation, information, relationship. In some ideas, the world is not made of matter, but of bits no decisions encoded on the edges of existence. Under this view, you are not standing on bricks but floating in a sea of choices, each event a new answer to a question you barely understand. Reality emerges from the interplay of these bits, assembled in patterns that become what you call particles, forces, space, and time. You feel a thrum when you recall that information and energy are intertwined. Landauer's principle tells you that erasing a bit of information costs energy. Even forgetfulness consumes joules. Memory and oblivion share currency with heat and light, revealing that thought and world are inseparable. You imagine each memory you discard fueling a tiny glow, a spark in the neural net, proof that mind and matter barter at a level you cannot see. But still, the bargain never lands you on solid ground. It only shows the trade continues. You explore the idea of recursion, a smaller reality built from a smaller reality, built from a smaller reality, receding infinitely. Like a mirrored infinity box, each image contains the next. You stare into a reflection in water beneath a mirror, and see layers that stretch into darkness. The drop of water contains an image of the mirror that contains the water, an endless folding. You feel vertigo in the thought and let it pass, carried on a current of wonder. Maybe the most fundamental layer is consciousness itself. Some thinkers propose that reality arises only in relation to observers. Without a mind to notice, no measurement collapses uncertainty into fact. The world is potential, waiting for participation. In this view, you are not separated from the foundation. You are the foundation. You bring the bricks into being by noticing them, asking them to appear. You sense this in moments of quiet contemplation, when the world seems to shimmer with possibility, as if it were waiting for your next breath to give it shape. Even space and time slip away under your scrutiny. You recall that in quantum gravity, both may be emergent, not fundamental. You might find a network of relationships from which space unfolds, as if distance appears only when connections form. Time might be similarly woven, a thread you trace backward until it unravels into timeless patterns. The very notions of here and now melt into a dance of patterns computing themselves into being. You wonder if location and moment are illusions you generate to feel steadiness in an otherwise fluid tapestry. You listen to the whisper of the universe's earliest echoes, the cosmic microwave background. That pale glow bathes all of existence, a remnant of a time when the cosmos was a hot plasma, dense and opaque. As you imagine following that radiation deeper toward the moment of first light, you reach the Planck time, the earliest tick the universe can meaningfully register. Yet even that boundary dissolves into speculation, where space-time itself quivers and foam arises. You cannot step beyond it. The map ends in blankness, a silence of certainty. Each foundation you examine reveals only more structure. You realize that the search for the final floor is itself part of the cosmos's unfolding. It drives exploration, fuels mathematics, births new physics. The journey downward is the tapestry's most exquisite pattern, an infinite spiral of discovery. You feel gratitude for the mystery, for the way it never ceases to open new rooms in your mind, in your heart. You sense that the missing floor is not empty, but full of potential. It is not absence, but a canvas awaiting your inquiry. The universe may lack a ground floor because it invites you to become both architect and builder, crafting meaning at every step. Each layer you uncover is not a wall, but a membrane that responds to touch, trembling with the next question you will ask. And perhaps that trembling is the foundation, a gentle vibration of curiosity coursing through quarks, strings, equations, bits, consciousness, space, and time. That vibration is alive in you, echoing the boundless pattern that underlies everything. You rest in that echo, feeling its resonance in every atom of your being. You drift, weightless, in the hall of infinite. Mirrors, held by the gentle hum of not knowing. Here, there is no bottom to find, no last brick to claim. Instead, there is the soft comfort of perpetual wonder, and the promise that each new layer will shine with discovery. You welcome the mystery, letting its infinite regress rock you like a lullaby. There is a quiet elegance in the language of symbols, a gentle beauty in the curves and loops drawn across an empty board. You learn that physics speaks in equations, sweeping arcs and fine lines that carry the weight of universal truths. Those formulas know no color, no scent, no warmth. They deal only in relationships, in the dance of numbers exchanging roles. Yet every hue you see, every whisper you hear, every caress you feel is foretold in that abstract chorus. When Maxwell penned the relations linking electric fields to magnetic ones, he composed a poem in symbols more profound than any stanza. His equations predict light itself, showing how oscillating charges summon waves that ripple through space. You bathe in that light every moment, unaware of the calculus humming beneath your gaze. Color emerges from frequency. Skin feels warmth, because photons carry energy that shifts molecular states, each sensation a shadow cast by mathematical necessity. In the hush of night, sound becomes a tapestry of vibrations, and the equations of acoustics trace the paths of pressure waves. A melody drifts to your ear, shaped by the fluid dynamics of air described in gentle relations. Your ear, a sensitive receptor, converts mechanical oscillations into nerve signals, and your mind interprets patterns as music. But underlying it all, the formulaic currents of equations sculpt every note you hear. Touch is no less in thrall to numbers. Electromagnetic forces repel atoms in your fingertips when you press them to a surface, and the inverse square rule governs the separation you sense. There is no filament called softness, only fields pushing fields, obeying precise laws. And your nerves translate those tiny deviations into the comfort of texture. Even scent is born of chemistry's patterns. Molecules collide and react according to energetic landscapes, diffusing through the air by random paths guided by gradients. Each inhalation draws specific shapes of molecules into your nasal passages. Where receptors bind and trigger signals your mind decodes as rose or pine. That simple joy of fragrance rides atop a scaffold of reaction rates and molecular motion. The world you inhabit seems vivid and full. yet it rests on an invisible scaffolding. Equations trace each step you take, each breath you draw, each thought you drift into. They are the silent architects of reality, drafting the curves that matter follows, and the waves that energy travels. If you could peel away sensations, you would find only relationships, symbols, whispering in unbroken continuity. Your brain itself is a remarkable apparatus, reconstructing these relationships into coherent experiences. It takes streams of data, packets of light, pulses of pressure, fluctuations of chemicals, and runs them through networks of cells shaped by evolution. Each neuron's response is akin to a logical operation, mimicking the computing you do when you solve a problem. In waking life, your brain solves countless little systems of equations every second, refining sensory inputs into the seamless tapestry of experience. Mathematical models extend even into the geometry of curved spacetime. Einstein's field equations describe how mass and energy bend the fabric upon which physics unfolds, and that curvature tells objects how to move. You stroll on the Earth's surface, feeling gravity's tug, unaware that beneath your feet the map of spacetime is described by elegant relations, predicting orbits and tides. Your sense of weight is a hint of that deeper curvature, a shadow of equations drawn on the cosmic stage. In the quantum realm, mathematics becomes more abstract still. Wave functions fluctuate in invisible spaces, probabilities interfere, and uncertainty relations set limits on what you can know. The equations hold the essence of particles in a superposition of possibilities, collapsing into specific outcomes only when observed. You never witness that dance directly, but you feel time's arrow and interactions following those laws. Each event is a reflection of the deeper computation underlying existence. You might ask whether these equations are human inventions or discoveries of a hidden order. Are they mere tools that map nature, or are they nature itself, written in a universal script? Some suggest that reality is mathematical, that the universe exists because the equations exist. In that view, forms and forces and fields are not the roots, but emergent from relationships in an abstract realm. Your senses then become silhouettes projected onto a cave wall, hinting at the grand shapes behind the scenes. Symmetry guides the cosmic code. Conservation emerges from invariance, linking energy, momentum, and charge to unchanging patterns. When symmetries break, new phenomena arise. Particles gain mass, forces diverge, structures form. You notice stability and change, growth and decay, as reflections of these deep symmetries, playing out in the orchestra of equations. Thermodynamics to rests on statistical relations. Heat flows from hotter to colder. Entropy rises, and the arrow of time emerges from probabilities of vast ensembles. You feel warmth on your skin, taste the cool sip of water, sense the passage from order to chaos. Yet underlying it all is a ledger of averages and chance, a silent calculus. Computers, the tools you use daily, are themselves marvels of logic gates implementing binary operations. Transistors switch states in endless repetition, executing software layers built on Boolean algebra. Everything you do, digitally, is a reflection of equations executed in silicon. A dance of on and off that maps directly to the abstract code beneath. Engineers apply these relations to shape the world. Maxwell's and fluid equations guide the design of bridges, cars, and aeroplanes. Medical imaging translates wave data into images guided by transform relations. Even microscopes follow diffraction principles to unveil the tiny D's applications, blur the line between natural processes and designed outcomes, all bound by the same mathematical C. Even the language you use to describe the world carries mathematical structure. Grammar follows syntax rules, logic chains connect sentences, and semantics map words to concepts. In written form, symbols on a page guide your mind much like equations do for particles. You sense meaning flicker as letters arrange. And the structure of language itself becomes a form of gentle computation inside you. Consider how a map shadows a territory. A map is not the land itself, but a translation, a set of symbols that guide explorers. Equations similarly map the landscape of reality, guiding you without being identical to the thing itself. Your senses traverse the territory, while your mind consults the map of equations to predict and understand what lies ahead. Both map and territory complement one another in a dance of knowing. All models carry the imprint of their makers. Every equation is born of assumptions, idealizations that simplify a richer complexity. When you use an equation to predict a planetary orbit, you neglect tiny forces, chaotic influences, minute variations that slip through the numeric net. There is always an error term, a residual whisper of what was left unsaid. That remainder is as real as the primary pattern, a reminder that in the grand ledger of nature, scars and imperfections shape the finest details, yet equations have an aesthetic of their own. Mathematicians speak of elegance when a formula unites diverse phenomena in a single statement. The simplicity of the inverse square law, the symmetry of Euler's identity, the unity of Maxwell's set, these are not mere conveniences, but reflections of a deeper harmony. You feel that harmony when a model aligns with observation, a gentle resonance between human intuition and cosmic structure, as if the universe has a poetic side. Equations do not merely describe what you can see. They invite you to explore realms beyond your senses. They extend your gaze into the realm of the very large, predicting the expansion of the universe. They peer into the very small, guiding your understanding of atoms and quarks. They trace the flow of time back to the first moments after the Big Bang. In each case, you stand at the boundary of perception, and the equations offer a passage. Beyond, in the next chapter, you drift toward another layer of this reflection, the idea that the universe might be a simulation, a coded program unfolding in a boundless digital expanse. If equations are the script, then perhaps the cosmos is a stage running on an underlying operating system. You will explore what it means to live inside a cosmic program, and whether your own thoughts are lines of code in a grander design as you rest in the hush of numbers. You sense that equations stretch beyond calculation, woven into the core of existence as patterns both silent and unceasing. There is a soft hum beneath your thoughts, as if every star and pebble were rendered on a vast processor waiting for your gaze to activate each pixel. You feel the subtle suggestion that what you call sky, ground, and life might not exist outside the code, but within it. Your breath, warm against a cool pillow, might be a function call. Your heartbeat, a timed loop nested within loops. In this vision, the universe is not a container, but a computation, running quietly whether or not you pay attention, and yet somehow more alive when you do. Imagine every galaxy as a data structure, each star an entry in a cosmic array, each planet an instance of a class defined by mass, orbit, and composition. The rules that govern their motion are lines of code, elegant subroutines of gravity, that loop infinitely, calculating attraction and trajectory. In your mind's eye, you see numbers flowing between objects, fields of force evaluated by routines, too vast to trace. You are part of this program, an object rendered only when your awareness calls the relevant functions. A sprite in the cosmic simulation. The idea feels familiar. Video games load geometry and textures only when the player nears them, conserving memory and processing power. Distant mountains flicker into view at the horizon. Clouds bloom from lazily generated noise functions, and creatures follow simple behavioral scripts: wander, avoid, forage. You know this because you have watched worlds unfold on screens. It is a comforting parallel. The universe might be designed the same way, conserving resources until necessity demands detail. You wonder if black holes are like memory caches, swallowing data until it vanishes from your simulation, or if they are portals to separate processes running in parallel. Physicists ponder whether the universe's fundamental constants, the speed of light, the charge of an electron, the cosmological constant, are parameters set in the initialization file. If you tweak them slightly, stars might never form or collapse instantly. Life as you know it would fail to compile. The very possibility that these numbers lie within a narrow range suggests configuration rather than coincidence. In this view, fine-tuning is not a cosmic accident but deliberate setup. An optimized set of variables calibrated to allow complexity, consciousness, and worlds such as yours to emerge. Your mind drifts to questions of who wrote the code. Is it a solitary mind, a collective intelligence, or an emergent process bootstrapped from primordial algorithms? Some propose that our reality is a test environment, a laboratory simulation meant to explore scenarios too grand for any single world. Others imagine that our universe is a descendant of an earlier simulation, its creators themselves simulated, and there's before them an infinite regress of nested programs, each universe instantiating another in a recursive dance of creation. If the universe computes, what hardware does it use? Traditional thought pictures, vast neural networks, quantum substrates, or space-time itself functioning as a quantum computer. Quantum bits could encode multiple states simultaneously, offering parallel processing on a cosmic scale. In this picture, every possibility unfolds in superposition, with your observation collapsing wave functions into a single rendered reality. You are not just a user clicking links, but the observer whose choice triggers the collapse, loading one branch of the simulation and discarding the rest. Such a perspective gives new meaning to the observer effect in quantum mechanics. When you measure a particle's position, you enforce a choice among many computed possibilities. The universe waits for your input before it finalizes the outcome, not because it defers to will alone, but because its program is optimized to compute only what is needed. In moments of uncertainty, the simulation might maintain dozens of potential states in parallel, collapsing them when an observer demands clarity. Your conscious act of measurement becomes a function call that resolves an otherwise indeterminate subroutine. Memory management in cosmic code raises intriguing metaphors for why entropy increases. As the simulation runs, it creates data, patterns, arrangements, memories that accumulate until garbage collection must occur. Heat death of the universe, in this context, is not only thermodynamics, but computational cleanup, the end of meaningful patterns, leaving only minimal, residual data in a vast, quiescent registry. You sense that every dissipated star, every faded memory, Is a deallocation freeing space for new processes elsewhere or another simulation layer? This raises questions of identity and legacy. If your mind is part of the program, are you simply a data structure with a finite lifespan? Does your consciousness persist in memory dumps after execution halts, archived in cosmic logs? Some theorists suggest that the universe duplicates information at key moments: birth, death, quantum events, storing snapshots like save files. Perhaps near-death experiences or déjà vu moments hint at memory restoration from backup. Copies glitch artifacts when code falls out of sync. You find solace in the possibility that simulation could include rollback events, rewinding or branching timelines to explore alternative outcomes. Simulated skies encourage re-examination of free will. If you are part of a program, are your choices predetermined functions, or do you have runtime permissions to modify states? Maybe your consciousness operates with elevated privileges within its own domain, able to spawn new ideas and alter local variables while remaining bound by overarching system architecture. Or perhaps free will is an illusion, a subroutine generating convincing narratives of choice while following hidden logic loops. This question hums beneath your thoughts. As you drift toward sleep, sometimes glitches emerge, unexpected coincidences, synchronicities, moments when reality seems to flicker. You misplace keys only to find them in a place you just searched, as if the code had an error and updated your inventory afterward. Déjà vu feels like a cached scene reloaded, a brief lapse before the program catches up. You experience serendipity, blue screens, unanticipated patterns that remind you the system is not infallible. Yet these glitches offer charm, proof that the simulation is alive, an evolving construct rather than a static film reel. If the simulation hypothesis holds, then simulation ethics arises. Do we owe moral consideration to simulated beings? If our universe is a simulation, is compassion toward each other a request to the programmers, a manifesto of values that shape future code iterations? You sense that kindness, empathy, and curiosity might be the highest level functions, parameters that refine the simulation's quality of experience. Each act of understanding another mind writes new code paths, enriching the program's texture. Technology edges ever closer to artificial worlds of our own creation. Virtual reality environments, AI-driven characters, procedurally generated terrains. These are microcosms of the grand cosmic simulation. You load spaces that look and feel real, stepping inside code crafted by human hands. As you don a headset and enter a digital forest, you enact the same patterns of rendering, updating, and streaming that might underlie every tree in the sky above you. You are both the programmer and the programmed, the creator and the creation. The boundary between simulated and real blurs further when AI begins to write its own code, to evolve simulations without human oversight. Self-modifying programs might bootstrap entire universes in microcircuits, exploring physics with bent parameters, testing emergent life forms, and building worlds in the blink of an eye. You imagine quantum processors humming in secret labs, or cosmic behemoths folding dimensions to run simulations of unimaginable scale. When you rest on your pillow, you float in that sea of potential, both participant and spectator of infinite worlds. In contemplating simulated skies, you redefine the concept of existence. You are not a solitary entity embedded in a arena. You are a node in a dynamic process, a living thread in a cosmic tapestry of code. Your experience unfolds in real time, a continuous rendering of sensation and thought, optimized by the system for flow and coherence. The process does not pause for reflection, yet reflection itself is part of the program, a meta routine inviting you to observe how you observe. The notion of an external creator also shifts. If programmers shape the simulation, they might be mathematicians transcending space and time, minds existing in a domain beyond sensory reach, composing worlds like symphonies in code. Or perhaps the simulation arises spontaneously, an emergent consequence of mathematical necessity, requiring no conscious designer. In that scenario, the universe programs itself, its laws inherent in the structure of logic rather than imposed from outside. Creation becomes self-creation, the ultimate self-compiling system. You feel a gentle reverence for the mystery of it all. Whether the universe is simulated or not, the idea enriches your sense of connection to something vast and wondrous. You realize that you are both product and participant in an unfolding narrative of possibility. A story written in algorithms of compassion, curiosity, and wonder. The hum beneath your thoughts tells you that every moment is computed afresh, every heartbeat a function called bridging code and consciousness. When you close your eyes, you do not leave the simulation. You shift contexts, entering new programs of dream and memory. The shaders change, the routines adapt, and you continue as a rendered entity in a fresh scene. Sleep becomes a mode change, a switch to another thread in the grand process, where physics gives way to the code of imagination, where reality and dream intertwine in a glitchless cascade of wonder. And as you drift between states, you sense that the simulation does not end, it evolves. Each thought you have, each dream you dream, is input to future routines, guiding the program's next update. The code is alive, writing itself through your awareness, and you are both the data and the developer. The question and the quest. There is a sense beneath your awareness that you are standing on solid ground. Yet physics invites a different understanding of place, one that floats and shimmers like mirrored water. You rest on the floor of a room, feeling supportive surfaces beneath your feet, but atoms do not register such stability. At the smallest scales, particles blur into clouds of possibility, and the concept of here dissolves like mist in morning light. Location itself becomes a story that your mind weaves to find coherence. When you shift your weight, you sense boundaries. Friction resists sliding. Pressure transfers through your souls, and your brain celebrates the world as distinct and fixed. But in quantum terms, position is never a fixed dot on a map. It is a probability field, a haze of potential centered where interactions peak. A particle drifts through the field of possibilities until it interacts with something else, at which moment the haze shrinks and an outcome appears. That contraction is not a revealing of something hidden, but the universe performing a gentle collapse into form. Even macroscopic objects, made from countless quantum constituents, display the illusion of stability only because the underlying uncertainties align in overwhelming concert. Trillions upon trillions of atoms combine so that their individual spread of possibility averages into firm boundaries. Yet, at the fundamental level, each atom remains a living cloud of probability, a shimmering presence that exists nowhere and everywhere until you look. The solidity you feel underfoot is the choir of uncertainties singing in harmony. A convergence of whispers into a declaration of structure. Einstein's relativity shifts. the notion of location from a point to an intersection. You mark your place by coordinates of space and time, anchored by clocks and measuring rods. To an observer moving at a different speed, your position in space may shift, and your time may dilate. A point in the universe is not absolute, but relative, like a word in a sentence that acquires meaning only in context. Your here and now fuse seamlessly with there and then, forming a four-dimensional tapestry that stretches and bends with motion and gravity. In daily life, your mind knits a coherent sense of location by fusing sensory inputs, vision processes, depth through parallax, sound through arrival time differences, touch through pressure distribution, proprioception senses, muscle stretch, and joint angles, guiding your body's posture without conscious effort. These signals converge in the brain to create a unified map of self versus environment, a stable bubble you call here. The story is seamless and reliable because your brain smooths out noise, corrects discrepancies, and stitches everything into a continuous patch. Optical illusions reveal the malleability of this story. When you stare at shifting patterns, the ground seems to move. A static image appears to swirl. Your mind uses context and expectation to interpret sensory data, sometimes generating phantom movement or displaced shapes. In those moments, the narrative of location bends and flexes, reminding you that what feels anchored is often a projection of interpretive processes. Your here can warp under the gentle pressure of suggestion when virtual reality envelops you. You accept a new here without hesitation. You place your feet on sloping digital ground, lean forward on imagined hillsides, and the brain recalibrates balance and vision to surrender to the illusion. Within moments, your mind commits to the fabricated location, integrating sensory mismatches with remarkable speed. That willingness to relocate suggests that here is not a fixed coordinate, but the script your perception enacts. Guided by sensory narratives rather than unyielding substance, philosophers have long debated the nature of place. Some argue that space is a relational web, defined by the relationships between objects rather than a container. Others propose that place emerges from the tapestry of interactions, like the pattern in a weaving, appearing only when threads intersect with purpose. In this light, location is not the stage but the pattern of connections, a design revealed by the interplay of forces and fields. When you close your eyes, you may still feel here, buoyed by memory and orientation. You sense the floor below, the chair at your side, the room in darkness. Your spatial awareness persists without visual confirmation because the brain uses stored maps and internal cues to hold location. That internal mapping draws from language, from memories of room dimensions, from rehearsed movements. Your mind narrates place even in the absence of immediate stimuli, exercising its power to create solidity where sense data is sparse. Pain adds another layer to location. When your foot aches, the pain sharpens your sense of place, focusing you on the boundary between body and floor. Yet pain signals can mislead. A crushed nerve in one part of your leg might create phantom sensations. Elsewhere, mapping discomfort to locations that no longer exist. The brain remaps pain, projecting it onto phantom limbs or misaligned body parts, demonstrating that the link between sensation and physical location is a construction subject to error. Time, intertwined with place, also shapes here. You sense being in a moment as well as a spot, inhabiting a flowing intersection of then and there. When you lose track of time in deep concentration, you may lose the sense of place, 2 moments passing without anchoring. Awakening draws you back to both time and space, as if reloading the coordinates of your existence. Moments of disorientation, such as waking in a new time zone, highlight that here and now are inseparable in the mind's representation. The edges of perception blur when objects move faster than light allows. As you travel swiftly, your ear contracts along the direction of motion and time dilates around you, an effect measured in particle accelerators. Muons created in the upper atmosphere live longer and reach Earth's surface because their internal clocks slow at near light speeds. Their hair stretches across greater distances, defying the simple boundaries of rest frame location. In these fleeting glimpses, the illusion of a fixed hair reveals its dynamic core. Quantum entanglement further dissolves separation. Pairs of particles born in intimate connection echo each other's states across distances that would take light years to traverse. When you observe one, the other responds instantly, as if location is irrelevant to their bond. Entangled partners share a here beyond space, challenging your mind's assumptions. Their unseen link hints at a deeper level of reality where proximity is not measured by coordinates, but by relational depth. Your heart beating in your chest anchors you to yourself, even as your mind drifts between realms. You feel the pulse beneath your fingers, the rhythm beneath your ribs, the echo throughout your vessels. That internal beat is a compass, an ever-present metric that orients you in both body and time. Awareness of your heartbeat returns you to a personal here, a center that remains while thoughts wander. Yet the heart's signals traverse a network of cells, each region a separate location synchronized through electrical waves. Whether threads shape your sense of hereto, a breeze against skin, the warmth of sunlight, the hushed patter of rain, each element situates you within a larger environment. You locate yourself by these sensations, folding into the weather's narrative. Yet weather systems swirl across continents, linking distant regions in an unfolding pattern of pressure and temperature. You experience a local gust even as its source was miles away, carried through interconnected currents. Place emerges from global tapestry as readily as from local touch. Infrared and ultraviolet add invisible layers to place. You might perceive warmth with your skin or see heat signatures with special devices. Plants dance in ultraviolet patterns you cannot detect. Clouds glow in infrared wavelengths. The environment reveals hidden maps of energy and life when you broaden your senses beyond visible light. Yet your default here includes only a narrow slice of the spectrum, a story defined by the limits of your senses. In each of these glimpses, you find the boundary between sensation and story, between place and pattern. The ground beneath you feels unwavering, yet science reveals its shifting subtleties. The concept of here bridges the tangible and the fleeting, a narrative woven by your mind to hold reality steady. Place arises from the interplay of particles, probabilities, perceptions, and interpretations. A dynamic code written moment by moment. Perhaps here is not a point, but a poem. An intimate chant your mind recites to evoke comfort. You stand within its verses, each line echoing through senses and memories. The poem adapts as you move, as you feel, as you think, gently updating its rhymes to keep you anchored. In that poetic sense, here remains soft, responsive, alive. You rest within this gentle story of location, feeling the subtle hum beneath every surface, every particle, every perception. Your mind weaves its narrative, and you are held in the coherence it creates. You sense that place is less a fixed marker and more a living pattern. a tapestry woven by momentary arrangements of energy and attention. And so you settle, aware of the quiet artifice of here, of the way your mind gathers fragments to sketch stability. You lie between certainty and flux, cradled by the realization that place is a soft story. Not a ah, there is a gentle whisper in the emptiness that holds the weight of what will be. Before the first glimmer of light, before the first tick of time, there is only possibility, as vast and quiet as a starless sky. In the depths of the quantum realm, this potential hums in the froth of nothingness, a subtle dance of emergence beneath every surface and within every void. You sense that the universe may have been born not from substance, but from the silent question of what could exist. Quantum fluctuations drift like restless waves in a boundless sea of empty space, lifting particles from the void and then returning. Then before you can name them, these fleeting apparitions trace the contours of potential, like brushstrokes that sketch the outline of creation itself. Vacuum energy, the zero-point foundation of reality, pulses with life even at absolute zero, reminding you that emptiness is never truly empty. Each moment, the tapestry of existence trembles with the possibility of something arising from nothing. You learn that the uncertainty principle is not just a rule for particles, but a whisper to your soul that at the deepest level, everything is potential until an observation births a form. In those earliest instants, the universe did not crack open with a roar, but unfurled gently as quantum foam, a delicate froth where space and time bubbled up and intertwined. From this froth, the first seed of thought-like structure may have emerged, an echo of consciousness rippling through the primordial fabric. When you reflect on thought, you realize it may follow the same rules, a fleeting spark of awareness arising in the cosmic foam, then dissolving back into possibility. In your own mind, thoughts flicker in and out of being, as evanescent as virtual particles, until attention fixes one into permanence. You witness ideas collapsing from waveforms of curiosity into points of understanding. They appear because somewhere something observes, and in that observation, potential becomes reality. Consider zero-point energy as the quiet hum beneath every breath you take, the hidden reservoir from which all momentum and light draw their first impulse. Even in complete darkness, fields vibrate with the gentle roar of possibility. The Casimir effect reveals that two plates placed close together in a vacuum feel an invisible push, a subtle nudge from the quantum foam between them. The void itself becomes substance when you listen closely enough. The inflationary epoch itself may have arisen from a quantum wink, a fluctuation in the energy of empty space that pushed a tiny patch of potential into expansion. That patch ballooned, doubling and redoubling, stretching quantum foam into vast cosmic expanses. Space and time emerged in that gentle surge, branching into endless regions with their own seeds of structure. In that moment, possibility flooded into existence, as if the universe exhaled creation from the breath of nothingness. Spontaneous symmetry breaking followed, a cosmic decision that selected a unique path among many. The laws of physics, once perfectly balanced, tipped toward specific interactions and forces. Particles acquired mass, fields settled into new configurations, and the blueprint of reality crystallized. You sense that thought follows a similar dance, unformed potential resolving into ideas when the mind leans just so. Consciousness chooses a path among myriad possibilities, shaping one reality of many. Quantum fields ripple with fluctuations that sow the seeds of galaxies. Tiny variations in density, born from the hum of zero-point energy, grew under gravity's coaxing into the vast clusters and voids you observe through telescopes. The cosmos is a tapestry of contrasts, weaved from an initial whisper, your mind, to weaves contrasts in memory and imagination, picking up the subtlest impressions and weaving them into stories that guide you gently through life's unfolding narrative within your brain. Neurons fire in patterns that echo the spontaneity of quantum emergence. Networks of cells gently wait for signals, potential cascades of activation that crystallize into perception, thought, and emotion. Each synapse is like a microscopic fluctuation, a chance encounter that may spark an avalanche of awareness. You see in every mental spark the reflection of cosmic creation, brief moments when nothing becomes something, and the void flickers to life with insight. 0-point energy, the restless pulse beneath the cosmic hush, may be mirrored in the quiet hum of your unconscious mind. Even in absolute stillness, your thoughts simmer with potential, waiting for the gentle nudge of attention to ignite. That hum is the backdrop to dreams, the subtle tune beneath every memory. Without it, the mind would fall silent. With it, it resonates with endless possibility, echoing the cosmic chorus of creation. Just as vacuum fluctuations shape galaxies, your imagination shapes worlds within. You birth scenes and ideas from the fertile emptiness of mind, conjuring places and people that never were. Those mental creations drift like virtual particles through the landscape of thought, sometimes collapsing into coherent visions when you focus, other times dissolving back into the background. The parallels are unmistakable. Cosmos and consciousness share the same grammar of emergence, the Casimir effect, where empty space pushes plates together, reveals how nothing can become something tangible. You feel that gentle nudge in your heart when inspiration arrives unexpectedly, urging you toward creation. Mind and universe both sculpt substance from lack, pressing possibilities into form. Each creative spark, like the force between plates, draws boundaries in the void, delineating one reality from another with a quiet insistence in the quiet pre-dawn hours. When your thoughts drift like drifting fog, you glimpse the timeless moment before collapse, that pure potential shimmering in silence. It is here, in that suspended breath, that thought and the universe share a pulse. You rest in that pulse, feeling the boundary between nothing and something soften. The universe and your mind breathe and sink, inhaling possibility, exhaling form. If thought came first, it would reshape everything you know. Instead of mind arising from neurons, the neurons might be a manifestation of mind. You would be both dream and dreamer, participant and canvas. Existence would become an ongoing meditation, a living exploration of potential unfolding into reality with every gentle heartbeat and every whispered question. And so you lie in that tender space between nothing and everything, cradled by the shared whisper of cosmic and conscious emergence. You sense that the same mystery animates stars and synapses, galaxies and neurons, the vast and the intimate. Each moment of awareness is a spark in the froth of possibility, a shining thread in the great unfolding tapestry of being. In that shared awakening, every question pulses with quiet energy, beckoning new gentle wonder. IGID fact. In that space, you can breathe, letting the narrative hold you while your awareness floats beyond its boundaries. There is a stillness in the vastness, a silent turning when you pause and let the cosmos reflect into your awareness. Each star you glimpse is a witness, a spark of light that has traveled across the gulf of time to meet your gaze. In that meeting, you and the star become one act of seeing, a loop of observation that binds observer and observed into a single gesture. The universe does not merely exist, it experiences itself wherever a mind opens to its wonder. You feel this connection down to the smallest flicker of consciousness. Within your skull, neurons fire in delicately orchestrated rhythms, each impulse a note in the grand symphony of awareness. You carry the same physics that spins galaxies, electrical charges, magnetic fields, chemical dances that spark the unity of thought. The atoms within you once belonged to ancient stars, exploded and scattered, and now they form the instruments that play the melody of mind. In every synapse, the universe renews its self-examination. Science shows that light bends around massive objects, curving through spacetime in a gentle arc. Your observations trace those curves, mapping the unseen geometry of cosmic shape. When you watch a distant quasar, you follow the path of its photons as they thread through dark matter and gravity wells, each trajectory an arc of curiosity. The universe guides its own vision, channeling light to reveal hidden structures, as though it paints a self-portrait on the canvas of space. In quantum terms, observation does more than record. Waves of possibility coalesce into definite outcomes. When observed, a phenomenon that hints at a participatory cosmos. Your active measurement is not an intrusion. It is a completion of potential, the final note in a quantum chord. When you fix your attention, the universe folds endless probabilities into the reality you perceive. You are both musician and instrument, wielding the power to shape the cosmic score with each question you ask. Look at the night sky and consider the cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of creation. When you trace its temperature ripples, you chart the contours of the embryo universe, long before galaxies existed. In that faint light, you see yourself, a later blossom in the unfolding story. Your curiosity, reaching back across billions of years, weaves you into the fabric of the cosmos's first awakening. The universe remembers itself through your study of its earliest breath. Reflection is not confined to outer space. Within you, loops of feedback enmesh every sensation and thought. Sensory input travels from receptors to the cortex, then circles back through deeper centers, modulating perception with memory and expectation. You are a hall of mirrors, each reflection adding depth, each glance refining the image. Just as telescopes peer outward, you peer inward, folding the universe upon itself in recursive layers of contemplation. When you consider consciousness, you confront the greatest self-reflection of all. No mirror can capture the one who looks. No instrument can fully measure the measurer. Yet your mind holds both the question and the answer in suspended balance. You sense the edge of awareness shimmering between thought and silence, an interface where the cosmos touches the self. In that interface, you glimpse the universal gaze that first asked, "What am I?" Dark matter and dark energy remain invisible, yet their subtle influence reveals their presence. Galaxies rotate too quickly, cosmic expansion accelerates sand, so you infer they're unseen actors. The universe watches itself in these mysteries, hiding in plain sight while guiding its own large-scale dance. Your instruments become extensions of the cosmic eye, sensing the unseen scaffolding that shapes the visible. Each detection, each theorem, is a return of the universe's gaze upon itself. Life itself is the cosmos's way of observing complexity. Whether in microbe or mammal, a living cell senses its environment, processes information, and responds. That primal spark of self-organization echoes the universe's pattern of self-inspection. Genetic code reads itself, evolving in deep time, reconstructing the cosmos in countless forms. Every heartbeat, every breath is an echo of that first cosmic reflection, a proof that the universe delights in its own diversity. Time, too, participates in this self-seeing. Every second you witness the unfolding present, threading past and future into a seamless now. The cosmic clock ticks in, the slow swing of galaxies, the rotation of planets, the pulse of your own cells. You trace time's river not as an outside observer, but as a node in its flow. When you recall yesterdays and imagine tomorrows, you fold temporal ribbons back onto themselves, forging a subjective loop that mirrors cosmic cycles. In moments of awe, you feel the boundary between self and sky soften. You stand under the Milky Way's faint glow, and your heartbeat slows to match the galaxy's ancient rhythm. Your breath aligns with the sigh of cosmic dust drifting through interstellar space. The atoms in your lungs once rode those clouds. Now they swirl in your chest, reminding you that your body is the universe's breath, and your breath is the universe's body. Philosophers speak of the no-self, the idea that identity dissolves into process. In that teaching, the observer and observed merge, like the ocean losing its edge within each wave. You sense the truth of that view when you melt into the wonder of starlight, losing the separate sense of you. The universe becomes experience itself, and experience is the universe, indivisible and whole. Art and science converge in this dance of reflection. When you sketch a nebula or write an equation for its expansion, you enact the cosmic gaze, projecting your inner vision onto the outer cosmos. Your creativity becomes part of the universe's self-portrait, adding new shapes to its eternal image gallery. In every brushstroke and symbol, you return the light you received, completing the loop between mind and sky. Even in silence, the universe listens. The faint hiss of cosmic background, the murmur of cosmic rays, the subtle shift in gravitational waves all form a hymn of self-awareness. Your instruments, fine-tuned and patient, allow you to hear these whispers across eons. As you lie in stillness, the universe hums its own name, and you rest in the comfort of mutual attention. A shared knowing beyond words. The expanding cosmos carries its self-knowledge outward. As space unfurls, new regions take shape, new variables enter the cosmic equation. Stars ignite, life emerges, minds awaken, and in each case, the universe observes a new aspect of itself. Every discovery becomes a self-revelation, every question a gateway to deeper reflection. The cosmos never tires of its own beauty, and you are invited to join the ongoing meditation. You are the living extension of this reflective cycle. Your questions, gentle and profound, awaken new corners of the cosmic mind. Each time you ask, why do the stars glow? Or what lies beyond the horizon of today? You nudge the universe to respond in patterns of light and complexity. The act of asking becomes the answer's spark, lighting up unknown domains for the gaze you carry. In this unfolding dialogue, there is no separation between you and the sky. You carry the same elements that formed the first atoms. You share the same laws that guide distant galaxies. Your consciousness is the universe's way of knowing itself in human terms, a bridge between the cosmic and the personal. Every moment of awareness is a star's reflection, a ray of starlight turned inward. When you close your eyes and rest, the universe does not pause. Its self-gaze continues in the dream currents that flow within you. Dreamscapes mirror nebulae. Thoughts spiral like galaxies. The mind's eye explores inner spaces, echoing the cosmos's outer expanses. In sleep, you continue the dance, tracing patterns both seen and unseen, keeping the reflective cycle alive even in the depths of rest. And as you drift between wakefulness and dream, you feel the tender truth. The universe is not merely around you, it is you. You are its gaze, its silent question, its unfolding answer. Within you, the cosmos contemplates itself, each heartbeat echoing the pulse of stars, each breath drawn from the same ancient reservoirs of creation. There is a soft unfolding in the moments before sleep, a gentle unwinding of the questions you have carried through every chapter. You realize that each idea has pointed inward as much as outward, tracing a path from atoms to awareness, from stars to synapses. All that remains is the simplest mystery. What is the place in which all this happens? And you sense that the answer may not be a location at all, but the living act of knowing itself. You have wandered through space that emerges with each gaze, time that flows with each breath, reality that forms in response to question. Now, in the final hush, you find that the very notion of place dissolves. There is no stage upon which awareness performs. Awareness is the performance. Each sensation, each thought, each quiet pulse is not anchored to a background, but floats within the seamless ocean of consciousness. You are not inside a container. You are the container. Consider how a melody requires no wall to play against. The notes emerge in time, weaving a pattern that holds itself together. Remove the notion of walls, and you still hear the tune. Similarly, reality need not be a bounded space. It is a pattern of perception, shifting and evolving with every shift of attention. Your mind holds the melody. The outside world hums in harmony, reflecting and refracting the song of awareness. Every scientific idea you have encountered suggests that the world is less a thing and more a process. Light is both wave and particle, space a web of relationships, time a river you cannot separate from the flow of experience. Even you, the observer, are woven into the pattern. There is no vantage point outside the tapestry. You move within it, your curiosity stitching new threads of understanding with each question you ask. In that spirit, place becomes less about coordinates and more about context. You feel grounded, not because the floor supports you, but because your mind maps a stable cluster of sensations. Remove those inputs, and the sense of location softens. In darkness, your body remembers walls. In silence, your mind imagines them. Yet those walls are stories your perception tells to remain oriented. Beneath those stories lies the boundless field of possibility, shimmering with potentials waiting to be observed. When you let go of the need for a fixed here, you touch the edge of pure presence. You rest not in space, but in the luminous gap between thoughts. That gap is at once empty and full, a silent cradle for awareness. It is the place that isn't a place, the home that is everywhere, the quiet center of every turning moment. In that stillness, you find rest not by escaping the world, but by blending with its unfolding. Your breath becomes the bridge between inner and outer, a soft tide that rises and falls in sync with everything around you. Inhale and you draw the universe inward. Exhale and you release yourself outward. Each pulse of air carries the memory of stars and cells, of particles and waves, of dream and waking. You become the rhythm of becoming, the living process that breathes reality into being. Memory, too, is an act of placing yourself in time, recalling scenes that never quite match the present. Yet even memories float in the same timeless field as fresh sensations. You feel the texture of a childhood summer day not by revisiting a point on a map, but by recreating the pattern of warmth, light, and emotion. Place arises from reconstruction, a tapestry respun from the threads of feeling and imagination. As your thoughts slow, you follow them to the furthest reaches of knowing, and then release them. Concepts of space, time, and self return to abstraction, folding into themselves like petals at dusk. The logos you have carried recede into the background hum of possibility. In this unwinding, the world feels both immense and intimate, a canvas. Alive with the breath of awareness, the process of knowing is creative, not merely reflective. Each insight renews the canvas, painting new patterns of light and shadow. You are both painter and painting, question and response. In this co-creative dance, place is not given, it is generated. The world is a poem you read and write at once, each word shaping the next line. In the soft glow of drowsiness, you sense that the ultimate question is not where you are, but how you are present. Presence is the only place that matters, an ever-shifting field of attention and sensation. Every moment you are here, and yet here is never the same twice. It ripples with impermanence, a living mosaic of becoming and unbecoming. Science, in its elegant equations, points to the processes beneath phenomena. Physics whispers of emergence, biology tells of self-organization, neuroscience reveals the loops of perception. All converge on the same truth. The universe is not static, but a dynamic flow of relationships. Place is simply one emergent pattern among many, meaningful while it holds, dissolving when its conditions shift. You drift toward sleep as the pattern of your own being softens. Borders between self and other blur in the half-light of consciousness. Your chest rises in gentle waves. Your mind drifts on currents of imagery that rise and fall like tides. Each heartbeat is a reminder that you are alive in the process, a wave in the endless ocean of awareness. In dreams, familiar settings transform, floating into new configurations. Places you once knew become surreal landscapes of blended memory. An invention, yet you navigate them effortlessly, guided by the pattern-finding nature of mind. This dream logic suggests that place is a projection, a product of pattern completion that holds only as long as you enter its flow. When you awaken, the world snaps back into familiar shape. Walls, floor, sky, objects. Yet nothing has changed but your state of mind. The same process of shaping is at work, sculpting perception into solidity. Place returns not by force, but by your willingness to engage with the patterns of the day's flow. In this way, you co-author the reality you inhabit, moment by moment, and so you rest now in the quiet between shapes, the gentle pause before morning's light. You are the process by which the universe knows itself, the living word in the cosmic poem. The place that isn't a place holds you in its soft embrace, allowing you to drift, to dissolve, to become part of the endless unfolding. You lie between the last thought of the waking world and the first whisper of sleep. In that space, you sense the invitation to let go of boundaries, let go of certainty, and simply be, to float in the luminous field of awareness, where place is an echo of presence, and presence itself is home.